Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. Well, let's jump right into it. A lot of things to talk about today, the first of which is another one of these mystery craters that were discovered. If you remember a couple of videos back, we were discussing another one of these sort of mystery holes that appeared in the middle of nowhere in Mexico, next to a highway. It was just smoldering, and the federal authorities were there, bystanders were there checking it out, didn't know what it was. Some people believed that it was some sort of man-made hole. However, there was no dirt around, no dirt displaced. It was just really strange, as if something had crashed there. Maybe some sort of energy weapon hit it, or something just came from the sky. And, well, while the mystery around that continued, now we have a new story, this time discovered on a beach in Nice, which is a French resort town. And this, what is being called a mystery crater, appeared on this beach, and it's left residents scratching their heads, some suggesting that this large round crater may be a geyser or a volcano, others saying that it looks like something that crashed from the sky, due to the fact that it looks very similar to the sort of impact craters you see on the moon or on Mars or on other places on Earth. And so this sinkhole, as we'll just call it, is 5 meters in diameter and 2 meters deep. And it's being filled up with this water due to its proximity to the ocean. It was discovered by stunned locals who were amazed not only by just the strange hole itself, but its perfect roundness, leading many to believe that maybe a meteorite or something from space came down, created it. And the authorities are saying that the hole is just natural and doesn't pose any danger to public safety, with one authority saying, quote, "It's a natural phenomenon that happens a few times a year." Although he didn't elaborate further on that. You know, that kind of reminds me of the authority figure, the chief of police that we were talking about in our last video, after all of those birds fell from the sky. And like this one here, he too said, well, it's just a natural phenomenon, don't worry about it. Of course, not elaborating any further, and just kind of brushing it off, seeing as it was starting to get publicity, people wanting answers, and of course, they always sort of put this figurehead who inevitably always says, well, it's nothing to worry about, go along about your business. But it's strange. People are wondering what it was, what caused it. It indeed looks like something fell from the sky, and obviously people are wondering what's at the bottom of the hole, if there is a bottom, along with the growing talk that authorities are simply covering this up, which could very well be a possibility, especially with all of the unidentified objects streaming into our atmosphere as of late, which we've spoken about in our last couple of videos. Flashes of lights in the sky, rumblings, bright flashes of what look like meteor or debris of some sort coming in from space, and now the discovery of a second sort of massive hole appearing out of nowhere, or just people waking up to it. But who knows? It's very intriguing. I'll post the link to the article and the news reports of this down below, people tweeting about it. So now in other news, I'd like to show you guys some footage. Now, a viewer of mine was monitoring one of the recent SpaceX launches, where they're testing one of those rockets that fly up to space and then sort of fall back down to Earth and land right on the exact same launch pad that they had just launched from. And it's really awesome. And so at one particular point, as this rocket is just reaching space, we see an object coming towards the rocket, or at least flying by it, but that comes from the opposite direction than any of the debris that's being shot out of the rocket. So this object actually is coming towards it, curve around and fly past. So check this out. The object appears just after these flaps you'll see open on the rocket, and you can't miss it coming up from the Earth and passing by.
Fires back towards the launch site. Even when we're landing on a drone ship, we tend to have the drone ship closer to land, so we fly back, flip the rocket around again to fire to slow it down during re-entry, and then the third burn on the whole recovery process is the landing burn, which we leverage
Okay, so did you guys see it? Let's go ahead and play it again. And I'm starting this a little bit earlier because I want you to see that as this rocket, and as all rockets, are flying up into space, they release ice and other debris. And there's actually another UFO that we can see sort of flying from left to right as the rocket is exiting the Earth. There it is right there. See how it's flying in the completely opposite direction from any of the debris that's being jettisoned from this rocket. Okay, so again, you can see the object, it comes into frame from the left, moving right, so it's obviously not coming from the rocket. The rocket continues up, and we'll start to see some debris being shot out of it, and you can see it flying away from the rocket. However, when these flaps open, we see this sort of spherical object coming out again from the left side of the screen, flying towards the rocket and curving up. Which again tells us that whatever this object is, it didn't come from the rocket. It wasn't shot out, because if it were, it'd be going in an opposite direction away from the rocket, just as you saw the other various debris just a second ago. And here we see the object enter the frame, spinning extremely fast. We see it curving up, and we'll go ahead and pause it right there. So yeah, the viewer saw this. He noticed that it seemed to be coming from an odd angle away from the rocket, heading towards it. And yeah, it's just another one of these strange sort of boomerang-like objects that we see sometimes in space footage. The shape of this thing kind of reminds me, what is it? Is it the Enterprise ship? It looks one of the ships from Star Trek or Star Wars, I'm not sure. Very interesting. 2 unidentified objects in this footage. Is it just random debris flying around? We have this other object flying left to right below the rocket, just sort of passing by in the distance. So tell me what you guys think about this. Oh, and another just little funny part of this launch, towards the end, as the rocket is heading back down, it's falling back down to Earth, the woman who is sort of narrating the entire thing says something kind of comical. So give this a listen.
This is where the video starts to look fake. It's not fake.
This is where the video starts to look fake, to chuckles in the audience. Now, why would she say that? I mean, obviously it's, a joke, likely pointed at the flat Earth community, many of which believe that not only is the Earth flat, but that space does not exist, that we've never been to space, that there's a dome covering the Earth, and that obviously then any space footage or rocket launches, the International Space Station, it's all fake. And so I'm guessing that that's what she is making that comment for. However, it's kind of strange to me that she would even make the comment to begin with about it looking fake. I mean, I know that the whole flat Earth thing, especially on YouTube, has been growing over the past couple of years, but it's nowhere near as large and widespread to the point where you would think that a spokesman for SpaceX would actually need to make a joke about it and then point out, not even a joke, point out that, okay, this is the part that's going to look fake. As if normal everyday people were going to look at this and say, that looks fake, and so she needed to point that out and reiterate to us that it wasn't fake. I don't know. But again, another little interesting thing that happened during this launch. And while we're on the topic of things in space being fake, about the International Space Station being fake, again, which is a big theory with some people online, a growing group of people, here is a new piece of footage that's been kind of making waves online lately, that a lot of these flat Earth or fake space advocates who don't believe space is real, don't believe the International Space Station is real, are using as evidence to say, hey, this is obviously proof that the space station is fake, and that when we see the astronauts supposedly in the ISS, they are actually here on Earth on a Hollywood set being held up by wires, support wires, just like they do in the movies. And they're pointing to this piece of footage, which I've been seeing everywhere. And before I play it, just to give you some background, basically, these 4 astronauts are talking. At one point, one of them does a flip, which is something you'll see them do all the time, seeing as that they're weightless, there's no gravity. And just directly after the flip, his astronaut buddy, standing next to him, reaches his hand over, and even to me, looks as if he pulls on a wire that is coming up out of the astronaut's pocket, sort of grabbing it and stabilizing the astronaut after he did the flip and kind of just pulling him back straight and you know, getting him back still again. So check this out.
See the hair?
I don't know. We're going to have to do something for you.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Watch this. I know. Oh yeah, I can do that. I know. Oh yeah, I can do that. I know. Oh yeah, I can do that. Watch this.
Okay, so now while I firmly believe that the International Space Station is real, there's more than enough evidence that we've been to space, we've been to the moon. That's not to say, though, and you guys know I've talked about this a lot, that NASA has not faked certain footage, whether it be on the moon or in space. And I have to say here, it honestly does look like this astronaut reaches over and grabs an invisible wire, obviously, because just like in the movies, they're in front of a green screen, and when these guys are in harnesses and on wires, the wires are edited out. And so in this, and it may just be, you know, just a trick of perspective, it really does look like he reaches over and grabs a non-existent wire that may be attached to a harness, which is exactly where these wires are attached in Hollywood films. They're usually attached right on the waist, on either side of the waist, next to the pocket area. And that looks like where this astronaut is grabbing. And you can see his fingers sort of curled around something, but there's nothing there. You know, like he pulls on something, and that in turn stops this astronaut from spinning all over. He restabilizes himself, and they continue the interview. So, yeah, this is the new piece of footage that is being touted as smoking gun evidence that the ISS is fake. They're in front of a green screen. They're all in wire harnesses holding them up. And you know, I've looked at this and I could point you guys, speaking of other things where I believe that they have faked shots, such as on the moon landings. And, you know, I've shown this video. It's been probably a couple of years since I've shown this clip, but there's a particular clip during one of the Apollo moon missions where the astronauts are walking on the moon, and there's a certain point, as you guys are seeing, where one of the astronauts falls down and would seem to be pulled back up by something attached to his back area, because as you guys will see here, there's nothing that pulls him up. He doesn't pull himself up, and the astronaut standing next to him isn't even touching him, and yet it looks as if he's being dragged back up by a wire support that pulls him back upwards as he kind of stumbles back up. And you can see here, his feet sort of drag against the dirt a little bit as he attempts to get a secure footing in the lunar soil. It just looks very fake. I mean, it looks like he was helped up from the ground with a wire, something pulling him from the back. The wire pulls a little bit too tight, which causes the astronaut to drag his feet a little bit before is then, you know, sort of given some slack, and they proceed walking on the moon. And it just looks like the astronaut was pulled up. This just serves to show you guys that things can be fake. There are other instances where it looks as if wires are being used. So, what do you guys think about this ISS clip? Does it look to you like he's grabbing a wire? Is it just a trick of perspective? You let me know down below. Alright? So with that, that is all I have for you guys today. Be sure to subscribe, stay tuned as always, follow me on social media, all the links down below. If you have your own UFO footage, be sure to email it to me or upload it to YouTube and then email me the link to it. That way I can get the full high-res version. And well, you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see you back in just a bit, and stay safe.